Okay, let's dive right into Exodus chapter 7. This is where the big confrontation really kicks off.
It really does. The mission is laid out pretty clearly, isn't it? Moses and Aaron, they're sent to Pharaoh.
Yeah, the demand is huge. Let the Israelites go. Simple, but, well, not simple at all.
And right away, the text gives Moses this incredible status. The Lord says, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh."
Wow. Like God to Pharaoh. That says a serious tone. Aaron's his prophet, his speaker.
Exactly. It frames the whole power dynamic. Moses isn't just asking nicely here.
But then, almost in the same breath, we get this preview. The Lord says, "But I will harden Pharaoh's heart."
Right, and though I multiply my miraculous signs and wonders, he will not listen.
So you know right from the start this isn't going to be easy. It's almost like the resistance is preordained.
It's presented that way, yes. The hardening is explicitly linked to the need to show more signs. It's less about persuasion, maybe, and more about demonstration through that hardness.
It's a fascinating, maybe tricky concept to wrestle with, this divine hardening.
Definitely. And then you get this very human detail dropped in.
Their ages, right? Moses is 80, Aaron 83.
Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly spring chickens embarking on this massive, dangerous task.
But they do it. The text is clear. They did just as the Lord commanded them. Straightaway obedience.
That obedience despite their age and the, frankly, terrifying prediction about Pharaoh's heart really highlights their faith.
So they head into the lion's den, so to speak, knowing Pharaoh's heart is set against them, but ready to act.
And the first act is a sign. The Lord tells them, basically, when Pharaoh asks for a miracle, and he probably will, Aaron throws down his staff.
And it becomes a snake. A pretty undeniable sign, you'd think.
So they go in, they do it just like that. Aaron's staff hits the ground. Poof! It's a snake right there in front of Pharaoh and everyone.
You can imagine the silence, maybe some gasps. But Pharaoh, he doesn't just cave.
No, he calls in his own experts, the wise men, the sorcerers, the Egyptian magicians.
And they pull it off too, or seem to. They use their secret arts, throw down their staffs.
And they also become snakes. So for a moment, it's like, okay, maybe this isn't so special.
Right. It raises questions about the nature of power and magic in this world. It wasn't unique initially.
But then comes the twist. Aaron's staff snake. It swallows the other snakes.
Swallows them whole. Now that's a statement.
Exactly. It's not just matching the trick, it's overpowering it. It shows a clear hierarchy of power. This isn't an equal contest.
A very visual, very decisive moment. Okay, so Pharaoh sees this. His magicians are, well, beaten. What happens next?
Does he relent? Nope. The text says, "Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to them."
Just as the Lord had said. There's that phrase again. It keeps coming back.
It hammers home that connection between his refusal and the divine prediction. The sign, even the swallowing part, doesn't break through.
His heart is unyielding, the text says. He refuses to let the people go. So, on to the next stage.
Right. The Lord tells Moses, okay, Pharaoh's still stubborn. Go meet him by the Nile in the morning.
And bring the staff. The snake staff.
Yes, that specific staff. The message is direct again. The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, sent me. Let my people go. And a reminder, you haven't listened up to now.
And then the warning of the next sign. Much
Right.
bigger this time.
Much bigger. By this you will know that I am the Lord. He says, I'll strike the Nile water with this staff.
And it will turn to blood.
Blood. And the consequences are spelled out. The fish will die. The river will stink. The Egyptians won't be able to drink it. Total ecological disaster for them.
But it's not just the Nile River itself, is it? The scope is massive.
Oh, absolutely. The command is for Aaron to stretch his hand over all the water. Streams, canals, ponds, reservoirs, everywhere.
And this detail is chilling, even in the wooden buckets and stone jars.
Right. That really brings it home. Like you said earlier, it's not just the public water source. It's the water they've already collected, stored in their homes. There's no escape. Blood everywhere.
Personal, invasive. And again, Moses and Aaron, they just do it. Aaron raises the staff, strikes the Nile.
And it happens. All the water turns to blood. Just as predicted.
The fish die, the river reeks, the Egyptians can't drink. The text confirms it all unfolded exactly.
Blood everywhere in the land of Egypt.
And the magicians. What do they do this time?
Well, the text says they also did the same things by their secret arts.
Which seems counterproductive, like, oh great, more blood.
You'd think so. Maybe they made a small amount of water turn to blood to show Pharaoh, see, we can do this kind of thing too. But it doesn't solve the problem, it just mimics the sign again.
So does this finally get through to Pharaoh? This massive, unavoidable plague affecting everyone.
The pattern holds. And Pharaoh's heart became hard. He would not listen, just as the Lord had said.
There it is again, that constant refrain.
And notice this, he turned and went into his palace and did not take even this to heart. He just walks away from this national crisis, dismisses it.
Incredible. While his people are suffering. Because the text adds that detail, right?
Yes, all the Egyptians dug along the Nile to get drinking water because the river, the canals, even their jars were useless. They were desperate.
And this wasn't just for an hour or two. How long did this last?
7 days, a whole week of this blood plague digging for drinkable water.
Wow. Okay, so stepping back from chapter 7, what are the key things jumping out?
Well, you've got the clear setup. Moses empowered, Aaron as his voice, the mission stated, then these two incredibly powerful signs.
The staff turning into a dominant snake, and then the water turning to blood everywhere.
You also see the Egyptian magicians managing to replicate the signs, at least initially, which adds complexity. It's not just unchallenged power initially.
But Aaron's staff prevails in the first instance. And the second plague is just overwhelming.
And woven through it all constantly is Pharaoh's hardened heart. And crucially, that hardening being linked repeatedly, explicitly back to the Lord's prediction, just as the Lord had said.
That phrase really anchors the narrative, doesn't it? It emphasizes that this isn't random. It's unfolding according to a stated divine plan, even Pharaoh's resistance.
Yeah, the details are vivid. The swallowing staff, the blood in the jars, people digging for water. It paints a picture of a real contest, but one where the outcome, or at least the resistance needed to reach the outcome, is foreseen.
What does that repeated phrase, just as the Lord had said, make you think about how we should read this?
It forces you to consider the nature of agency here. Pharaoh is acting, making choices, resisting. But the text frames that resistance within a divine foreknowledge and arguably a divine purpose. It's not just about Pharaoh's stubbornness, it's about how that stubbornness fits into this larger narrative of liberation and divine power.
Exactly. It's that interplay. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on directly from this chapter. How does the text describe the hardening of Pharaoh's heart? It's not just Pharaoh deciding things. It's presented as something the Lord will do so that the signs can be multiplied.
Right. So the question is, what does that dynamic where divine action seems to prompt or use human resistance to enable further divine action make you ponder about how power, free will, and divine plans are portrayed working together, or maybe against each other in this story?